What's up YouTube? My name is Ben Nielsen and I'm a media design educator. Have you ever wondered what the best alternatives are to Adobe Illustrator? Well, that's what we're here to talk about today. Okay, so we're going to talk about alternatives to Adobe Illustrator. These are apps that are inside of the vector design category because that's the type of work that you do in Adobe Illustrator. This is as opposed to raster work that you might do in something like Adobe Photoshop. And don't worry, we'll talk about that one later, but we're starting out with Illustrator. And I'm going to try and make this video nice and quick for you. I'm not going to show you demos of all of these software. You can easily find people showing these software online, including some of my own videos in the Candid Design Challenges or in other videos that I've done on these programs. So let's go ahead and let's just start out. For those of you who are just wondering what's the best alternative to Adobe Illustrator, we'll just knock that one out right away. The best alternative to Adobe Illustrator is hands down Affinity Designer. That's the best one. If that's what you're looking for, you can stop the video here, go ahead and grab Affinity Designer. Affinity Designer is a single purchase license like all the Affinity programs are. It's $50 for a one-time purchase, although it has been on sale for half off at $25 for a while now due to the COVID-19 pandemic and Affinity trying to help people out getting their creative work when they can't maybe afford something like the Adobe Creative Cloud. It's a great program. It is full of functionality, so close to Adobe Illustrator, most designers won't miss it. I will point out one thing here though. If you're looking for a program that has the Shape Builder tool, nothing on this list is going to fit your bill. Every program on this list can do similar things to the Shape Builder tool using path operations, but nothing is going to have a Shape Builder tool. Adobe Illustrator is the only program that has that Shape Builder tool built into it so far. I've not found another program with the Shape Builder tool. That doesn't mean that you can't still make awesome designs here, because you totally can. And Affinity Designer can do almost anything that Adobe Illustrator can do and some things that Adobe Illustrator can't do for just a fraction of the cost. So my number one recommendation if you are on Mac, Windows, or iOS is Affinity Designer. That's right, it's on all three of those major platforms, Mac, Windows, and iOS. So you can go ahead and you can check that out. I should mention here that the iOS version is cheaper. I believe it is $20 normally and $10 when it's on sale. And of course, I have lots of courses that go over how to use Affinity Designer, so you can go ahead and check out those in the description below. Affinity Designer is my main vector design app, and the other Affinity programs are also my main apps for doing raster editing and for doing layout design. And that's another big benefit to Affinity Designer. It's part of an ecosystem of apps that are all single purchase licensed, so you still have that ecosystem feel that you had with Adobe, but you don't have to pay that monthly subscription day in and day out. All right, now that we've gone over what the very best one is, let's get into the meat of the other options that you have. Some people don't want to pay anything at all, and some people really like open source software. So the number one open source software for vector illustration and design is Inkscape. Inkscape has been around for a long time. There's a robust community around it of developers and designers who've been using it, so it's great. And it's recently received an update that's really kind of modernized the feel for it. It's available for Windows, Linux, and Mac. That's right, this one is available for Linux. So if you're a Linux user, this is the one for you. This is the one you should be using. None of the other programs I'm going to talk about today are available for Linux. So go ahead if you're a Linux user and pick up Inkscape. Now I haven't used Inkscape in a while. I did use it back in the day, but since Affinity Designer came out, that's been my go-to. But Inkscape is really great. And if you want to learn about Inkscape, I really suggest the channel Logos by Nick, because Nick goes into really the details of Inkscape. He understands it super well and can teach you how to get the most out of it. One of the benefits to Inkscape that Affinity Designer doesn't have is the image trace functionality. That's one thing that people really like to have in Illustrator, and they don't have it in Affinity, but they do have it in Inkscape. Now that's not something I use a lot, so I don't really care about it, but I know a lot of people do. So go ahead and check out Inkscape. Again, it's free and open source, and there are several different ways to install it based on the system you're trying to install it on. Now just remember, open source does take a lot more technical know-how than something that you just download off of the App Store. So just be prepared for that if you're going to go the route of Inkscape. Inkscape doesn't come from a suite of apps like Affinity does, but there are other open source apps that we'll talk about in later videos, and we do other alternative videos as well. So there are other apps out there, they're just not part of a cohesive suite. Next, let's keep going with this free theme and let's talk about Vectornator. Vectornator is a pretty good app. It's a little short on tools and features, but it is free and it is available on all of the Apple platforms. So iPad, iPhone, and Mac it's available for. And so it's great for cross functionality in that way. Again, like I said, it's a little bit thin on features, but they're constantly building in more and more, and it does have the ability to image trace just like Inkscape and Illustrator do. One of the things that concerns me about Vectornator, and I talked about this when I did the Can It Design Challenge for Vectornator, is that they don't seem to have a viable business model yet. There just doesn't seem to be anything there for how they plan to make money, because they're not charging for the app, and eventually they have to make money. That's the only way they can eventually return on investment. Currently, they're running on a lot of like venture capital funds right now, and we just don't know what's going to happen. So I really recommend this as a great option for people who are new to vector design. You don't want to spend a lot of money. You want to see if it's something that you like. You want to have a professional tool, but you don't want to spend a lot on it. Vectornator is the app for you. Just don't get too attached to it, because we don't know how long it will be around or how long it will be around for free. All right, so far we've talked about a single purchase app that you pay for once and you keep forever. That's Affinity Designer. We've talked about an open source app, and that was Inkscape. That's the open source app. Then we've talked about a free app for Apple platforms. That's Vectornator, and that's a free one but not open source. Lastly, I want to talk about those of you who are web-based. This will primarily be people who are using Chromebooks or people who are using really old computers that can't run any of these software on them but can run a web browser. For you who are web-based, the best program I found for vector design on the web is Affinity Designer. Now, it's not a perfect program, and the free version is far from perfect. There are some features that are behind a locked paywall, and that is subscription based. So you'll have to take this for what it's worth, but if you're web based, there aren't a lot of options out there, and I found that Affinity Designer is the best, and even the free version comes with a lot of the basics that you'd need for graphic design. Things like shapes, being able to merge shapes with path operations, changing out your colors and for your fill and your stroke. All of those basics are here inside of Affinity Designer in the free version. So go ahead and check that out if you are web-based. And those are really the ones that I think are the best contenders with Adobe Illustrator. Again, Affinity Designer is the one that I use the most. Remember, I do have videos on some of these and some other vector illustration apps like Amedyne and SVG Edit as well that you can check out in the Can It Design challenges. But I'd love to hear from you now. What are you using for vector illustration? Is there an app that I don't know about that you've really found that you like? Go ahead and let me know that in the comments below. While you're down there, make sure that you like this video and also subscribe to this channel for more videos like this one. Also, feel free to check out my courses linked in the description if you want to learn more about design. We'll chat in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.